Hi, I'm Dr. Gwen Irwin, and welcome back to my channel, Healing for Your Life. This channel has 4 playlists so far that I'm just setting up, and one of them is called Living the Creative Life. So there's one video posted which is on my concept of what is a possible and very workable creative process. Now, when I say possible, you could talk to thousands of artists, and every one of them, of whatever ilk, whether they're visual artists or writers or gardeners or craftspeople, is going to have a different idea of what the creative process is. But I've created or noticed and put together the idea of my version of the creative process, and that's what that first video is about. Now, for those of you who would like to have a more complete version of that and something to kind of refer back to, I do have a booklet which is for sale on my website called The Creative Process. And this booklet will take you into the process in more depth. You'll also be able to go back to it and read different parts of it if you want to refresh your ideas about that. Now today we're going to do something that is also part of the creative process, but specifically for writers or for people who want to use writing as their creative vehicle or a creative vehicle, even if they're painters or, as I say, gardeners or craftspeople. So this is going to be the first video in Writing for Your Life, that playlist. Now, I'm also developing 2 different courses that will be available probably within the next 6 months that will be made up of multiple videos for sale that will cover 2 specific aspects of the writing process. As I said, those will be available in the next few months. But today we're going to launch the Writing for Your Life playlist. And I'm going to begin by talking about voice. Now, voice is personal, what I call personal voice is part of kind of our world today. We have the Me Too movement. We have women who are speaking up for the first time about abuse. We have women who are running for office. We have women who are CEOs and artists and doctors and lawyers and teachers who are very much coming to the forefront of their professional lives as well as being wives, mothers, partners, or none of those. But it's all about personal voice and exercising that voice, really making use of it to make a difference in the world. Voice and language are 2 separate things which you will learn more about in one of the videos under the Developmental Roadmap playlist, because it is a developmental phenomenon. And voice is different than language in that voice represents your emotional, feeling, sensory expression of your unique self. This is how I talk. This is what I want to express. Language is something acquired. It's something learned. Somebody can be very articulate and not have a personal voice. There's some difference between the 2 hemispheres. Right hemisphere is much more personal voice. Left hemisphere is much more semantic, articulate language. And so there are very real differences between the 2 experiences and the 2 expressions of oneself. Hopefully they blend together and support one another, but they can be very split off from one another. Now, what we call authorial self, that's a concept I've referenced earlier from Denny Wolfe. The authorial voice is a capacity that we have inherent within us from birth, but it has to be nurtured. It has to be developed. And so we hope to see that coming into play pretty fully by the age of 3. The authorial voice means the child has shifted from being the one acted upon to one authoring their experience. And what's called the terrible twos, which aren't always so terrible, is really a time of flexing those muscles. The child now has an agenda. They may not be able to speak it yet, but they want to do things. They need to do things. They feel certain ways. So the authorial voice that comes into play when the left hemisphere's capacity for semantic language really comes into play in the 3rd year of life is the time when a child can begin to express their opinions, begin to express what they want, what they need, what they disagree with, as well as what they want to have happen. Now, they don't always get what they want, but they're able to express it. And, excuse me, the reason that this authorial voice flowers is because the caregivers in the child's life have paid very serious attention to the child's many expressions of themselves in the first few years of life. They're attuned to them. They try to provide what the child needs, and they support the child's expression of their opinions and their thoughts and their feelings and delight in them. And even if they can't always give the child what they want, because it isn't safe for them or it's developmentally kind of premature, they still take what the child is saying seriously. And that supports the child's expression of their authorial voice. Now, in writing, you've probably also heard about voice. The writer's voice, or the artist's voice in their painting, or in something that they've sculpted or crafted. In this instance, it's the authorial voice plus, meaning that the person has something they want very much to say that is of their own making, of their own design, and they want to use that authorial voice to express it in whatever medium that they choose. So in writing, very often you'll hear writing instructors or other writers say, you can't really teach writing. You've either got the talent or you don't. Well, I do think there are people with gifts for writing or some form of creativity that may be greater than just run-of-the-mill daily life gifts, which is not to put those down either. But writing can be taught. Good writing can certainly be taught. And I happen to believe, because I've worked with probably at this point thousands of writers and creative people in my career, that a writer's voice can be discovered. It can be revealed. It doesn't need to be taught. It needs the environment in which it is safe for that voice to come into play. So if you're in a writing group, for instance, where the critiques are very critical, where people kind of jump on a bandwagon and go after somebody, you're in the wrong group. If you're in a writing group where the teacher is the authority on everything of what will sell, what won't, what's correct writing, what's incorrect writing, you're in the wrong group. I have been a part of dozens of writing groups, and I've taught many, many, many of them myself over several decades. And a writing group or writing instruction, whether it's a class or one-on-one, needs to be conducted where you are helping the writer find out what works and why and how to do it on purpose, and what doesn't work and why, and how to not use that particular skill set or tool. If you have that, you're in the right place to develop yourself as a writer. But maybe you're going to say to me, but I don't have a writer's voice. I don't know what my voice is. Well, your voice is the one that doesn't sound like anybody else's. And our vocal voice is very different in many ways than our written voice. You can't quite write the way you speak unless you're doing a character with dialogue, because there are ways to shape writing that creates an effect. A beloved writing teacher of mine, who's the best writing teacher I've ever had, whose name was Saul Stein, said a lot of really wonderful, wonderful things. But he encouraged writers to just allow themselves a kind of unbridled expression to begin with, and then to read what they've written out loud and see how it sounds to them. Does this represent me? Gee, I sound really awkward here, or I sound kind of formal or artificial. What is my voice? So I've developed a tool, which I also have for sale on my website, and it has several purposes. It can be used for journaling. It can be used for self-reflective therapy processes. It can certainly be used for other forms of creativity. But it is also to help you find your writer's voice. It's also the greatest antidote for writer's block. Any writer I've ever worked with who has used this tool is freed of writer's block. You just won't have it because it's such a great springboard. So I'm going to show it to you and talk to you a little bit about it. It comes in this little package that's very handy. It's the size of kind of a playing card. And it is called the Flow Write Cards, Seasons for Authorial Voice. It opens easily with a latch. And at the very end, there's a little, or at the very beginning, on the back of the front card, there's an instruction sheet, little directions of the best way I have found to use it, which I'm going to go into in just a minute. And then the deck is divided up into 4 colors, as you'll see: green, blue, yellow, and a darker blue. So a kind of turquoise or seafoam blue and a darker blue. And each color represents a season of the year. So you have winter, spring, summer, and fall. And every card is numbered. So this says spring. Every card is numbered week 1 of this card, and then there are 7 words on that card. So if you're in what week are we in of the year? October. We're in the kind of fall of the year, or not winter yet. So we're just going to pull out a fall card. This is week 37. I don't know that it's week 37, but we'll just pretend for today. And there are 7 words on the back. So if it's Monday morning or Sunday, wherever you want to start your week, you pull out your card for the week. You have your journal with you and pen or paper. And each day you use one of these words as your prompt. Now, this is the way you flow write. You write down the word that's your prompt, and then you free associate. That's an analytic term. We use it in treatment all the time, but for creative processes, it's used as well. So what that means is you are not going to think about what you write. You're going to use this prompt word, and then you are going to let it flow. and take dictation from your mind. Let your mind go wherever it wants to go and write it down. Literally take dictation from your mind. Now, every now and then as you're writing, something surprising will come out that you weren't expecting. Follow that trail. You can say to yourself, wow, what's that about? And then you follow where that trail takes you. And so you want to do this for about 30 minutes at least. You can do it for longer, but at least 30 minutes a day. And you can also play Baroque music while you're doing it if you like, because that's the closest rhythm to the human heart. Or you can do something that is soothing, not to make you sleepy, but to make you at ease with what you're doing. If you like candlelight or firelight in front of a fireplace, if you like being outdoors by the ocean or up in the mountains, whatever helps you feel at ease with yourself, give yourself that environment. And then pick your words. So some of the words on this particular week, the first one is splinter. So we've all gotten splinters. That's going to evoke probably a memory or a thought or a feeling. Just start writing it. The second word is protect. And where does your mind go when you think about protect? The third is broken. What is broken? What has been broken? Where do you feel broken? What have you broken in your life? The fourth is secret. So what secret do you want to write about? Or what secret do you want to avoid? The next word is nest. Fall, of course, is such a nesting time. Spring is too, but fall is kind of a time to get cozy and hunker down. So you may want to write about what nesting feels like to you. And do you feel like you're in a nest? Do you feel safe and protected in that nest? Then we have flawed and the word threat. It's really interesting because as I created these lists and put them into seasons, I tried to put the words into the season that fit, and then I tried to have the words have some kind of relation to one another week by week. So I think you will find this a fascinating experience. And at the end of a year, 365 days, you'll have amassed quite a bit of writing. And the thing that will be very interesting to you is the springboard that it will become to other writing. In one of the classes I taught, sometimes I gave as an exercise that we all the students wrote on the same topic. Because people will often say, well, that's been written about. Well, not by you. So I give the same assignment to everybody, and then they all write about it, and then the following meeting, we read those aloud to one another and discuss them and what works and what doesn't work. But we also see the incredible difference between different people's voices, their experience, their perspective. It's fascinating. So in one of these situations, only once in all the years that I've been teaching, my students asked me to do the exercise with them. So I did. And the word I picked was weather. I started out flow writing, and I ended up writing for almost an hour, about 45 minutes to an hour. And when it was done, I was really, really pleased with it. And I put it aside for a couple of days just to think about it and let it cool off, but not get too distant. Then I read through it and I thought, I'm really happy with this. So I did a fine line editing and I submitted it to an analytic journal, which usually takes 3 to 6 months for them to respond because it just goes very slowly. And I submitted it online on Saturday, and Monday morning I got a call saying we want to publish it, we love it. And this was in January, I think. It'll be in our fall edition. And then they called back later that afternoon and said, no, we're moving it up to the March one or April. So they published it right away. that was a very encouraging experience because you always feel at risk. You always feel kind of vulnerable when you submit your work. And to have that kind of reception was just a joyful experience. It was also very validating that a flow writing piece like that, once you really get used to doing them, can become something really valuable and marketable and publishable. So if you're interested in these decks, please go to my website. You'll see them there for sale, and I'll be happy to send them off to you. Don't mean this to promote me. You can do flow writing without this deck. You can just start with a prompt. You can get a piece of paper and a pencil, look around the room, see something that captures your interest, write down 2 or 3 words about it. Oh, spring irises, and then off you go. But this is something, the reason I think that the deck works so well is that it's portable. You can easily take it with you wherever you go, and it also kind of helps you keep accountable to your own writing process, because it's like, oh, time to do some flow writing today. Now, as I said, it can be used therapeutically to work out a kind of knotty problem you're struggling with, or to think about maybe a conflict you've had or an issue that you need to talk to somebody about. You can use it as a springboard to other creative projects. It has lots and lots of uses, and you'll discover those that fit for you as you go along. So this begins our Writing for Your Life playlist. The courses, as I said, will be available within the next few months. And I've loved being with you today, and I look forward to when you come back. See you soon. Thanks.